It is my pleasure to welcome the new chairman of TiE Global, Mr. Arjun Malhotra. Arjun, welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations, first of all, on becoming the chairman, the new chairman rather, for TiE Global. Want to start with the current economic scenario, and we'll go more into the TiE Global's role. TiE, as you all know, has become the preeminent organization fostering entrepreneurship globally, and TiE Global has a very special role in this to play. Now that we are in 12 countries, 53 chapters, I guess. I wanted your perspective, first of all, to share, how this, as some of us say, the gloom times, could be capitalized, to make some bold entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Well, entrepreneurs need turmoil. They need some change. They thrive on change. That's when they see openings. That's when they see opportunities. So I think, in a way, while economically it's tough and there are lots of things happening that I wish were not happening, especially people getting laid off on jobs and that kind of stuff. But I think from an entrepreneurial point of view, this is the time to get aggressive. This is the time to think out of the box. This is the time, even in a company, your chance to get market share, your chance to do things differently. You've got to look at what are your strengths, what your competition can't do, what your clients want, and try and put a program together that takes them away from their present vendors to you, or more of their business away, whichever way you look at it. And I think, you've asked a question. I've actually been on a whirlwind trip through about 5-6 cities in India, through Singapore, and through Sydney and Melbourne in Australia. And everywhere at the TiE chapters, they got a little event together and they wanted me to talk, and the subject was always the same. It was, instead of calling it bold entrepreneurship, they said entrepreneurship in a recession, but the topic was the same. And my message was also exactly the same, that look, it's an opportunity. So there are enough people worrying about it. That makes it nicer. Then there are fewer people you have to compete with. So if you're thinking and you're an entrepreneur and you like to look at opportunities, don't worry about the problems. Problems will come, problems will go. Just look at the opportunity that throws up. And I think this is a great time. And I think the theme of the conference here at Silicon Valley, the bold entrepreneur, pretty much reflects it. You need to be bold. You need to take, and I want to sort of separate bold from foolhardy. You don't have to take decisions just because you want to be different, but you want to take intelligent decisions that will actually open up markets for you.
We within the TiE organization, as members or charter members or even as volunteers, think very highly obviously of TiE, and we think TiE is everywhere. But I'm amazed, I still run into some people in Silicon Valley who haven't heard much about TiE. But on the other side, TiE has grown so big. It is now actually going into countries we didn't think 10 years ago we would be there, trying to spread this ecosystem. What are your thoughts on how we are expanding?
Yeah, you're right. Sometimes, I think we've done a pretty good job in Silicon Valley of growing TiE, but I don't think we've addressed our entire universe here. What we are trying to do now, and there are two different topics. One is how do I expand the profiles of the people who I can pull into events that we have, and the other is how do I expand to more places in the world. I think the first one, what we're trying to do is get into other areas. TiE has, rightly so, been labeled as an ICT or an IT, whatever word you want to use, or largely organization. And I would say about half, or maybe just a tad less than half of our charter members, etc., probably come from that area. Maybe it was a higher percentage initially. And so we have that reputation. So we are now aggressively moving into other areas and trying to get iconic speakers or the right kind of speakers for events at different locations, so that we pull a whole group of people in who earlier were not involved with TiE. And so hopefully we'll get a little broader base, because entrepreneurship doesn't exist in either a country or a segment. Entrepreneurs are sort of universal. They exist everywhere. I think that's number one. Number two, there was a time when we grew fairly rapidly, And what happens when you grow that rapidly, you actually hit a wall at some point because your processes are not in place, your quality standards for different levels of membership are different in different locations, etc., etc. I think we realized that pretty early and actually put up a couple of committees at the Board of Trustees that address this. And I just came out of a very, very interesting presentation where there's a group of 3 presidents and some EDs who've got together on our behest and are putting together best practices, and we're institutionalizing the organization. A large part of it has been done, but that process is going to be continuous. So now when we go into a new country, or now when we go into a new location, we pretty much have some criteria which will make sure that we don't have to handhold it for more than a year. The chapter then becomes independent and works by itself. That's the plan. And so we had slowed down our growth. We had only opened 4 new chapters last year. I think this year is going to be somewhat slow because of the economy, but from next year, hopefully when things get a little better and our processes are in place, with a technology system that we have where everything is available, I think we can grow much more rapidly and feel very comfortable about the quality of the chapters and the people who get associated with that growth. And so you're going to see that. So we are at an inflection point. It's a very interesting inflection point. This whole turmoil in the economy has given us a few more months, or 6 months more than what we would have got earlier to do this, which is a relief because you're not rushing all the time to do it. And I think we'll do a much better job because we can now sit back and dot the I's and cross the T's and be a little more complete when we go out.
To ask you about the new exciting program you're implementing, which is the TiE Young Entrepreneurs Program. It's good to catch them at a very young age, and I think you're doing that. Just wanted you to elaborate on the program.
Yes, so TiE actually, our foundation is based on 3 pillars: mentoring, education, and networking. And when I say education, it's really, and mentoring, we really try to catch people young. Young has traditionally meant college, and try and get them familiar with entrepreneurship, try and get them to think like an entrepreneur. They may not become entrepreneurs, but at least we'll help them think in that particular way. And the ones that take it to the next step, then through mentoring, we get them through the process where they either start a company or get a VC or whatever they need to do to get their idea into a product or a company and get it going. One of the things that our Boston chapter actually, and I've got to credit them, came up with an idea about 3 years ago, and they talked to us and we asked them to go ahead and experiment with it, was to go to schools and not try and teach entrepreneurship, but try and orient them towards what entrepreneurs do, and try and see if they get interested in thinking that way and hopefully becoming entrepreneurs when they grow up. Very successful program. It's now, it was started in Massachusetts and Boston basically. It's now gone to 4 or 5 states on the East Coast, and this time when we talked to them, we were very excited about what they did. So from TiE Global, we're putting some funding in, asking 5 chapters actually to match the funding. For each chapter puts in their matching fund, and try to push it into 4 chapters this year under Boston's leadership. And once that establishes, then we'll pull it into global and take it to all our 53 chapters. Right? But I'm really excited because we had 2 examples. One kid came down and presented, and I can tell you I was blown away. I mean, I really was blown away. I was an entrepreneur at the age of 25, 26 when I was in India. I look back and think, wow, that was really early, because those days the word didn't exist, and so we were sort of early into the business, into this entrepreneurial thing. But this kid really blew me away. I mean, and if that was the competition I had to face when I was being an entrepreneur, I would run. So, I was really impressed, and I thought if, we probably 100 odd kids have gone through the program. If I can produce 1 person like that out of 100, I think we pretty much will sleep in peace. Let's put it that way. But it's a great program.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.